Okay, we're ready for our second video. What we left off last time was we have a pink background on our page, and we have a main, and then we have header. And we started with that. Um, we have no other content on there. So let's go ahead and put a little more HTML before we start messing any more with styles. I just put that pink background on there in CSS just for us to test to make sure that this style sheet is attached to our index page. And if it didn't, then we can fix that before we start moving on. So we created our main, and if we take a look at our picture, okay, so this is our picture. This back here is our body. This pink area with all our HTML is our main, and inside our main we have this with the looks like two pictures. Um, we have two pictures, and we have a H1, and we have this paragraph right here. So let's go ahead and finish up the HTML for that. We have some resources on our images folder. We have a bunny and we have an egg. So the bunny goes on the right, egg goes on the left, and then we have this other content in the middle. That all goes into our header. So let's go ahead and make some room. All right, so we have inside our header, we have some children. The first thing we have is a picture on the left, and this picture is right here, and you can see that's egg.jpg. Now, if I just put the image source egg.jpg, I'd be putting an inline element onto the page. And there's always a danger in inline elements in that they do not impact things to the left and right of them, so adding margin and padding usually doesn't work. So what we want to do is we want to encapsulate them in a block level element. And the block level element we're going to use for pictures is called figure. So we're going to type figure and then tab. And inside that figure, I'm going to go ahead and put my image. So I'm going to do image. Oh, and not image, MIG for image. And then I'm just going to press tab, and it's going to fill in the rest for me. All right, so it wants to know where the source is, and the source for this egg is inside this images folder. So I'm going to have to put both. So I'm going to do images slash egg.jpg. Now I want more. I want to describe it more than that, and I'm going to do that with an alt tag. So alt tag, and I'm going to put egg logo. All right, you always have to have an alt tag with an image source, which actually Sublime Text automatically put that in there so you wouldn't forget it. Image tag also is a tag that doesn't have a opening and close tag. There's no close image. It's just image. And this creates or puts this JPEG on the page. But again, this JPEG ends up being a inline element. So we're going to encapsulate it inside that figure tag. All right, so what's the next thing we have? Move this over a little bit. Move this over a little bit. There we go. All right, so here is the rest of our page. So the next thing you can see, we have a happy Easter. Let's take a look in our content to see if we have it there. And you can see that, yeah, here's the paragraph tag. The H1 tag I do not have. So let's go ahead and add that next. So after that figure, I have an H1. Whoops, that's not right. I have an H1 and then tab. And inside that H1, I guess I assumed I could type this. Happy Easter Spitz. All right, and then I'm going to, after that, have a paragraph. And that paragraph is going to come from my content. So I'm just going to, in fact, I had the paragraph tags, I didn't have to add it, but I'm just going to go ahead and copy what's inside those paragraph tags so I don't have double paragraphs. And go ahead and paste that in. Again, if you copy and paste it, make sure you don't double do the paragraph tags. All right, and the next thing I have is the picture on the other side, which is the bunny rabbit. and I'm going to put that's another figure tag. So to make my life a little bit easier, I am simply going to copy this figure tag and paste it underneath, and then just change egg JPG to bunny JPG. And I'm going to call this the bunny logo. All right, good. So that is all the content for our header. And since we have some content, we can go ahead and save this and see what's going to happen. So I'm going to do a file and save. Whoops. And I always do a save all just in case I might have messed around with the CSS page. And then I'll go back to our website and refresh. Boom. And you can see I have some problems. All right, the pictures aren't showing up. But you can see the alt tag is. So that's another good reason to have an alt tag is that if the pictures don't show. Now the pictures, it shows my HTML is fine. It's just not finding those files. So we have to figure out why that is happening. Let's go back to Sublime Text. And let's see what's going on. I misspelled images. You've probably already seen. And you can't scream back to me at the video, hey, you're misspelling images. So, okay, so let's do File, Save All, and then refresh. Bam, and there's our pictures. So everything is showing up now, not quite the way we want it to. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and shrink down. Can I do this? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this. Shrink it. All right, so here's my first figure, there's my H1, there's my paragraph, there's my second figure. All these are block level elements, so that's why they're all stacked one on top of the other. And what I want to do is I want to move them so that these are side by side, and then these are in the middle of those two. All right, so let's go back and we can start styling that. Let's work on the header first. That means we're going to have to use some CSS in order to be able to do that. Oops, I want to do that. Move this over a little bit so we can see what we're doing. I don't need to have this much here. All right, so what I want to do is I need to target this picture first. That's the first one I'm going to do. So even though this is in main, so in order to be able to select this, I can say main header figure. The problem I have with doing that is I don't want to use the word main because everything is in main, so that's implied. But I do want to say that I want to target inside the header the child of header called figure. And what we're going to do with that is that we're going to float it, and we're going to float it to the left. Okay, so let's go ahead and do File and Save All, and then refresh. Boom. All right, so everything got hosed. Kind of. You can see that what we finally got Happy Easter now is moved up. So it's next to here because when it floats it, it actually removes this from the DOM or the document object model. And because of that, then this paragraph says, well, I need to move up in the empty space. But one nice thing the browser does is if there's a picture there, it won't allow this to go underneath it. It just says, okay, well, there's something there blocking it, this content. So we're just going to put it off to the left. You can see that this moved up also, and this moved up and is to the left of this here because this is also floating to the left. Interesting. All right, so what we want is we want this one here to float to the right instead. So let's go ahead and make that happen, see what goes on. So I have header figure float left, The thing is, I don't want both of them. I want this other one to float to the right. So I can use a pseudo selector for that. I can say I want header, figure, colon, and now I can use a pseudo selector. We use a colon for that, and it can't be any space between the E and the colon, or the colon and what I'm going to type next. And what we're going to say is we're going to say last dash child, and then put in some braces. So we have first child, which is this picture right here. Last child is the last one in that list. So we have children here. Inside header, we have figure as a child, H1 that's a child, P that's a child, and figure that's a child. We could have said header figure nth child 4 because it's the fourth child in this list. The bad news about that is if I add another paragraph for some reason, then that's not going to be not be the fourth child anymore. It's the fifth, and we're going to have all sorts of problems. So it's best to use first and last when you know that these things are always going to be first and last. You don't know what's going to be in between. So let's go back and finish. Make sure we haven't finished that. All right, and this one we want to float to the right. We'll do File, Save All, and then refresh. Boom. And you can see now it is floating to the right. Problem is, since this is rendered on the page prior to this one being rendered on the page, this one is blocked from moving up because this being a block level element is moving all the way across the page. So one of the things we could do is we could float this to the left too, and then that would change it to an inline element, or we can just change it to an inline element and see what happens there. So we have header figure, and then we have header figure last child, and in between that we have let's see. All right, we have header H1, and let's go ahead and display that as an inline block. And let's see what happens. And we'll do File and Save All and refresh. Okay, so you can see that everything moved nicely better up here. The problem is that we have this paragraph here, and that paragraph is not working correctly. All right, because that is also a block level element. So again, it's going to be down here, and it's going to be over. So let's go ahead and, I'm running out of time. Dang it. It's just never enough time. Okay, let's do header, paragraph, display, inline block. All right, and we'll do File, Save All, and refresh. Now, it has immediately gotten worse. All right, so we want to move that paragraph up under Easter. The problem is it runs out of room. So if I change that, and let's go ahead and let's try doing width, and let's do 500 pixels. File, Save All, and then refresh. There we go. So it's working better. It's actually much better than it was before, but we don't want this to be side by side, and that's the problem that we have now. So let's go ahead, and in our next video, we will continue wrestling with this and trying to get it the way we want it, because right now I'm at the end of my time can't go over 15 minutes with this software. All right, I will see you in video 3.